Hey guys, Aaron Schober and Josh Lucas, once again from Sword, Carolina. We have a doubleheader for you today, the Versetzen and the Absetzen. We're putting them together because they are very, very similar. Now, the Döbringer manuscript, it treats the Versetzen very simply as really using Oberhaus and Unterhaus to block the other person's attack. So instead of, if Josh were to attack me with an Oberhaus, instead of just statically winding and blocking his sword and trying to lead into the next attack, I'm actually going to cut into it, which is going to lead into a follow-up attack. So I'm entering in with a lot of force, really taking control of the bind immediately so I can very, very quickly follow in with a thrust. Now the other manuscripts that we deal with, the von Danzig and the Ringert manuscript, they go into a lot of detail with, the Sverkow breaks someone that's standing in vom Tag, or the Krumpau breaks someone that's standing in Ox. Döbringer keeps it very, very simple. He's much more worried about you actually defending against the attacks and setting aside the attacks, not so much the guards that someone may be standing in. So the simplest form of this is if Josh is attacking me with a cut, I'm going to cut into his attack and then immediately follow through with a thrust. When I'm cutting into my hanging. So if I cut an Oberhaus, I'm cutting directly into plow, which is going to lead into an immediate thrust forward. So it sets his attack aside. I can come in with a thrust. If I cut an Unterhaus, I'm going to end up in my upper hanging, or Ox, and then with the same motion from the cut, I'm going to come in and do the thrust from there, stepping in either directly toward him, or what's probably even better is stepping toward him and away from his sword a bit, which is going to put me in a more defensible position. So where Döbringer has the 4 Versetzens, he's really seeing that as the 4 cuts, our basic cuts. So the 2 Oberhaus and the 2 Unterhaus from both sides. That's his fear Versetzen, and it's going to set aside any opening that Josh is attacking. I can defend that opening and then do an immediate counterattack. And Döbringer's really a fan of the thrust.
Where the Versetzen was a 2-part process to where I'm cutting and then thrusting, there's something called an Absetzen, which really what it tries to do is put everything into one continuous motion. The most basic that Döbringer brings up is if Aaron is thrusting at me from plow, I will thrust at Aaron from plow, collecting his sword as I go, and immediately attacking. So the difference between the two is before I would wind to my left plow and then thrust. What I'm trying to do with the Absetzen is make it one full motion in depths. Just try and make it an immediate reaction to it. The thing that you'll find when you're trying to do an Absetzen, and it's a more technical type of movement, it's more advanced, so you'll have to work at it a little bit, but really the one thing you want to do is move your hands first. My hands are going to be faster than my feet. I want to move my hands first to really collect that sword. The other thing that lets me do is really lets me set the range. So Aaron may be taking a really big step at me, and I want to just step out to the side. Aaron may be thrusting and kind of keeping me at range, and then I can really step in. So if I move my feet first, I don't have that option. If I move my hands first, collect the sword, then I can see what distance I need to go to and set the thrust up better. The next example of Absetzen, and once again this is simple, but it's creating that advanced technique of attacking in the motion. If Aaron cuts an Oberhaus at me, I can do an Absetzen by actually cutting into an Unterhaus. And we like the Unterhaus just because it puts us online faster. So if I'm immediately thrusting as I'm cutting, I want to already be online. I don't want to have to do any work in the bind to get my point online. So Aaron does the Oberhaus, I cut the Unterhaus and thrusting immediately at the same time. Obviously make sure that you come up high enough to where you're protected, that his sword doesn't come over mine, hit me in the head. So I want to come up high enough, make sure I'm defended, but at the same time thrust. The last part of this is you'll want to twist, make sure that you do a full wind into your ox so you don't keep it straight and the sword come down on the outside, hit you in the hands. So as you're cutting that Unterhaus, you're really coming into a good hanging with that edge with your crossguard out to protect your hands right there. All right, guys, that is it for this week. That is the Versetzen and Absetzen. Really simple techniques. Try it out at home with your training partner on the Pell, whatever you guys are working with, and let us know in the comments how you're doing that. So we'll see you.